everyone, welcome to another episode of SketchUp Bites. So today we're going to be talking about inferencing and some other tips and tricks in SketchUp. So let's jump right in. So SketchUp has a really powerful inferencing tool, right? So let's take the line tool, for example. If I'm about to draw something, let's say we've already drawn a rectangle here. As I hover over the corner of that rectangle, you see an endpoint show up. As I move along this line, it says that it's on edge of the surface. As I go further, move along, it's also going to inference and let me know where that midpoint is. And the same thing over here. But if I move and start going over onto that face over there, it's also going to tell me that I'm drawing on this face, and it's letting me know where I'm about to start my drawing from. But as far as inferencing goes, it also works whenever you have certain tools selected. So in this case, let's take the line tool, and let's say I want to draw a line that's aligned with that particular corner over there, or aligned with that midpoint over there, or aligned with that midpoint over there. All we need to do is we need to hover over that midpoint, right, or wherever we need our new line to be aligned with. And as I move away, you see a dotted line show up saying that, hey, if you're going to start drawing now, your starting point of your line is going to be perfectly aligned with wherever that midpoint is. I could do the same thing for this particular edge over here on the endpoint, and as I move away in the red, or as I move away in the green, it's telling me, in the red or the green direction, it's telling me that, hey, if you want to start drawing right now, the starting point of your line is going to be perfectly aligned with that particular corner that you hovered over. And I could do the same thing from this midpoint and move away and start drawing my line. Now that I've started my line, I can also tell SketchUp to lock the direction of this line in a particular direction. And the way to do that is, you see in the bottom too, it says the arrow keys is how you can toggle or lock the inference direction. So if I tap the left arrow key, it's going to lock it in the green direction. So I can start drawing in the green direction and point towards any other, point in my SketchUp model. If I want this line to go all the way to where this origin is, I can inference that origin while this line is locked in the green direction. Conversely, I could also tap the right arrow key, and then you'll see that the line gets bold. Essentially, SketchUp's telling us that, hey, if you're drawing this line, now that you've tapped the right arrow key, it's going to be locked in the red direction for you. So essentially parallel to this red axis, if you will. And then I can inference this particular corner, or I could inference that particular corner. So SketchUp is going to draw that line that's exactly starting from this midpoint that we inferenced, and it's going to go in the red direction. And if I inference the other point here, that's exactly how long that line is going to be. So I finished that by single clicking the mouse button, and now I know that this line is exactly, from this midpoint to that corner. And I could do the same thing in the blue direction, right? I could, go up, and you're seeing that that blue line shows up, but as soon as I move my mouse away, it disappears. So in order to lock it, I'm going to tap the up arrow key so it locks it for me. So no matter where I move my mouse, it's always going to be drawing in that vertical direction, right? So I'm going to escape out of that for a second, and let's just, for example, I'm going to draw a line, let's do that, and let's do that over there, right? So it creates that surface for us. But I have this line over here. What if, say, I want to draw another line that's parallel to this line? All I need to do is, again, invoke that line tool. Let's inference this particular corner here just by hovering over it and move the mouse. And let's start from right this point over here. But as you see, like once SketchUp recognizes that, the mouse is in a direction that's parallel to that line, it's going to, highlight as a magenta color. I can always tap my bottom arrow key and lock it, right? It's locked in that parallel direction now, right? Or I can again tap that bottom arrow key so that it moves in the perpendicular direction to that line, right? So it's again inferencing that line's direction, and then tapping the bottom arrow key is going to either lock it in the parallel direction, or it's going to lock it in the perpendicular direction for us. Or if we continually want to lock this in the red, green, or blue direction, we can always tap the left arrow key to lock it in the green, the right arrow key in your keyboard to lock it in the red, and the up arrow key to lock it in the blue. And once it's locked, now this is an important point here. Once it's locked, let's say I lock this in the green direction and I'm moving in that direction, I can always just type in the length of that line that I want it to be. So let's say I want this line to be, say, 10 feet long. I type in 10 feet and hit enter. It's going to draw a line that was parallel in the green, exactly 10 feet in length, right? So I can go in and check to see the length as well, and you'll notice that it's exactly 10 feet. So inferencing is really, really powerful in SketchUp, and that's one of the reasons why you don't see the four viewports that you might otherwise see in other 3D modeling platforms. You can really leverage the inferencing in SketchUp to, draw incredibly accurately and make sure that your drawings are, essentially you draw in the right direction. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. Actually, no. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to talk about the inferencing for other tools. So there's an inferencing for the rotate tool as well. So let's take, for example, this object right here, right? Right? So I'm going to select that object. I'm going to right click on it and make that a group just so it's kind of wrapped into that group wrapper. And I'm going to take the rotate tool, for example. You see the rotate tool show up and it's showing as blue in color. What that means is, let's say I grab that corner and I start rotating this object. It's orbiting the rotation, the axis of rotation is in the blue direction. So it's rotating about the blue direction. But we can always tap the arrow keys again, exactly like how we did with the line tool. Now in this case, I'm going to tap the left arrow key. Now the protractor turns green in color. So now if I were to rotate this rectangle, it's orbiting as the green axis as the center of rotation, right? And I could always tap the right arrow key, and then it's going to, uh, lock the protractor in the red direction, and then I can orbit it like so as well. There are other ways to do this as well. Like I'm just going to tap the Alt key here so that these newer grips show up. Let's orbit about the center. I can always click and drag the protractor, and I can set up a direction in which I want, this rectangle to rotate as well. But that's something for another sort of time, if you will. So you can orbit and rotate objects in multiple directions by simply clicking and dragging that protractor as well. So I'm just going to escape out of there, but I'm going to talk about that in a separate video, so it's more useful for you. Okay, so you can essentially lock the directions in which you want the rotation to take place, the way you want the line tool to behave, and so on and so forth. So do keep that in mind. Inferencing, a really, really powerful engine in SketchUp, and I wish I had known this when I first started SketchUp as well, but hopefully you get to see this video and you use it in your drawings as well. Okay, that's it. Peace.